Hey everyone, I'm Jay, and welcome to another video in my Intro to HTML and CSS series. This video, I'm just going to talk about the directory and file structure between your website and your local files. Right? Not everyone, it just doesn't click right away for everyone, so let's get at that, okay? So I have a repository for this series. Intro to HTML and CSS is the repository without the ampersand and jump, right? So it has some files in here. What it doesn't have is an index.html in the root directory. This is the root directory, okay? And I have the page itself open. Okay, so this is the code section in GitHub. And this is the viewable section in GitHub. This is the live web page. Now, I do have a little bit of content right here. I have the name of it, and that's because my code has a README file, which I checked the box when I created the repository, automatically created that. So I do have this. If you did not do that in yours, then you'll probably just have a 404 error file not found page. Okay, same thing, right? No difference, because this isn't the page that we want anyway. This the readme.md will be picked up. It is on the default file list on GitHub servers. So let's have a look at what I have here. I have my desktop app, and I have created a new index.html file for for this repository, and I placed it inside the main folder of this repository. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can read that better. Hopefully you can read this. Okay, so index.html, it's in the main directory of this repository. Right, my GitHub desktop app has sniffed it, picked up on it, so we have that. I'm going to leave this as it is for my commit. I'm going to go ahead and commit to main and push that. I have some extra files here for upcoming assignments I haven't graded yet. Okay, so it usually takes about a minute. Yeah, it's not refreshing yet, but let's have a look at this home URL for a moment. This is the root URL for this GitHub Pages website, and you'll notice that it has to have that directory name, intro-html-css. That's the repository name. Without that, I'm actually going, so I have my username.github.io. If I were to try and go directly there to a URL, I have a file there because I created a specific repository for that. Your GitHub and GitHub Pages allows you to have one kind of username repository so you can put files in that true root URL location. However, for each of the regular repositories, you have to put the repository name as the root directory. Okay, so the actual root URL of this website for any future links that we make, we can't just go home and start with a slash. We have to do home, start with a slash, and the repository name here. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind in the future. Now, let me refresh. Here we go. So now I have the page that I made, and I just kind of colored it gray a little bit. Let me zoom in. Okay. All right, so I colored the background and made some white text, and then made some instruction there, just a very brief, right? So this is the home URL page, and this is the home URL for this repository's website. I do have some modules in there, and they are uploaded. For example, module 1 is going to be add module 1. So if I type in all this other stuff, in my URL, username.github.io/repository name/ now I begin to type the directory that I want. And if I'm looking for module 1, I type module 1. I can put that last slash or don't put that last slash. It's kind of the same either way. Press enter and oh, I got 404 file not found. And oh, the reason for that is I actually put it in one more directory called lab. And there's my module 1 lab assignment. I separate my labs and my examples. I forgot about that. So this would be the file for module 1, the lab assignment. And you have to put, I have that file in a folder called lab, which is in a folder called module 1, which is in the repository intro to HTML CSS, which is uploaded to my GitHub Pages website. So all that stuff backs into the URL, all of it. If you forget any one piece of it, your URL doesn't work. It's going to be pointing to a different file that may or may not exist on the internet. All right, so I think that's about it. Let's have a look at what it looks like in our just in our file explorer here. So this is the folder structure on my computer. When you connect your GitHub desktop app, you pick whatever folder you want to put this repository into, and then if I wanted to create a new file, I could just do new text document and then change from text document.txt to page.html. It'll of course tell me, do you sure you want to change this? And yes, I want to change this. I could do that. That's an option. That's always going to be an option for you. Let me delete that. I don't actually want it. And also I could just copy files that already exist. Once you have a couple of files in existence, I highly recommend you just copy previous files, because what's going to happen is you'll get the doc type, the HTML, the head, the stuff in the head. You'll get all that. You won't have to type it a second time. So I highly suggest creating new files. You copy that. But just know that whatever file and folder structure you create in here, so if you're working on module 4, you create a folder called module 4, you put all the module 4 files inside of there, and then when you get to your URL, you type in the full URL, including your username and the repository name, and then if it's module 4, you would type in module 4, that's the directory. Now, I don't have a file in there that's been uploaded, I don't think. Oh, I do. So I have a file there. And if you had a file there, yours would be there as well. If you didn't have it, remember to upload it. And when you upload through the GitHub desktop app, you have to commit your changes. But that just commits them locally, kind of writes the instructions on your app locally. And then this button will change from fetch to push. And you have to push them to the live internet. Git services likes to break that into 2 separate actions, so that it just prevents some high-level mistakes, which we're not going to make because we're working with one person and we're not doing any advanced Git operations. All right. Well, hopefully that solves any questions you have on your directory issues, and I'll see you next time.